Alright, here we go. The next episode, episode 3 for Star Wars The Old Republic. Today's footage was captured on the 3rd of December 2017. The audio recording is being done on the 21st of December 2017, about 2 weeks later, after the video has been shot. This day, the 3rd, was a crazy day in that I played 3-4 different games in the day, and so the way the videos got stored is they were scattered into several different folders, which since I've been on vacation this week, I've been reorganizing and knocking out video productions and cleaning out older files, and these are the last of the ones that I have to do for the week. But I started playing Star Wars earlier in the day, in the mid-afternoon. Then I switched over to World of Warcraft, and then about midnight I switched over to DC Universe, and then sometime around 2 in the morning 3 in the morning I switched back over to playing World of Warcraft again. And so and then I came back to play Star Wars, so my video footage is all over the place. So and when I was making all the videos for these, since they're all dated on the 3rd, I had to figure out the continuity, because when the videos ultimately get on YouTube, they're structured into like chapters and stories to make it easy for the viewers to view the videos as they're intended, in a kind of a story formatted with chapters and parts, so everything lines up correctly. So with Star Wars The Old Republic, I believe the 3rd of December was see, check my calendar. It was a Sunday, so I was off that day. And it was the beginning of a 4-day weekend is what it was, prior to my vacation. So that's why I ended up playing a lot of games that day, because I had worked like 4 days straight before that, and they were long days. And this was my chance to catch up. And here I am. I was starting a game, but it was having issues. I believe there was a patch that came out, and I had to sit through several updates. And this one always takes a while to update. And then I think that's what I spent most of the morning doing, was waiting for this game to update. And when you first restart a game after a patch, there's usually some issue, usually with Windows. And they tend to correct themselves the more you load the game up. Or sometimes you're better off just restarting the computer and reloading everything. Go. We're logging into the Nar Shaddaa planet. That's where one of my homes are at. See, it's Gatekeeper Zul's stronghold. She's my smuggler character. This is actually her house. because that's the name of it. I was trying to change instances to a less populated instance, and they won't allow you to do that in the stronghold. You have to go out to the regular world map to switch instances. That's what that message is saying. Okay, one of the first things I do is I check my mail in the game. I was checking the legacy bank here, as I wanted to see what the deposit stuff was about. I think is what I was trying to do. All that seemed to be working right. So I came up here to check my mail. Apparently my sales all expired. I have to reset those. The first one must have been successful because I got money back. These are the products and my security deposit back. This is the regular cargo hold. I believe I'm checking it for a specific hilt for the lightsaber is what I'm looking for. I have a hilt that's curved, kind of like Count Dooku's lightsaber hilt was in Attack of the Clones. He had a curved blade, and I always liked that hilt. And, I actually have that in the game, and it's cool looking. I couldn't remember where I put it. I know it's somewhere on one of my characters. I just have to find it. That's the unstable lightsaber right there, the Kylo Ren blade. As he never completed his training as a Jedi, so he doesn't actually know how to make a lightsaber. So that's why his lightsaber is all flickery looking. He doesn't have the knowledge. Getting rid of some of these schematics that I have. Life in Star Wars isn't always about running around bashing things in the head, although that's kind of fun. Or blowing things up with your starfighter. You Spend a lot of time, especially as a crafter, upkeeping things and checking on sales, posting products to the Galactic Trade Network. I like this time of the game where you're kind of just going about your daily routine, because it makes, when you finally get to the action part of the game, I think it makes the action better. So you have ebb and flow in the game and not always high string all the time. So what I do when I post, I just put the item over. I let the computer generate the price. And then I just go with whatever the computer recommends. I don't try to guess like the market or should I bid high, bid low. I just put it up for what the computer thinks it's worth, and I go for that. I think a lot of people, when they just pick numbers out of the air, they undercut themselves in the entire market, because they're not basing their price on anything in the game. They're basing it on some imaginary number that they just picked out of their head, and it can make for a bad economic situation on a market. But luckily, sales are time limited, so stuff like that won't be on the market long. I forget what I was looking up. I think I was looking up a particular gift pack. They have bundles and boxes, and I was looking to see if the light versus dark packs were still for sale. There's something out of that pack that I really want, and I was seeing if they were still available or not. So, stuff for your house furniture. I know what I was looking for now. I was looking for a PvP terminal. See if you could buy one for your house. That's what I was. I was unsuccessful in trying to locate one. So, and then I was sort of just window shopping here, see what's available, see what the prices are. I don't really buy a whole lot of things with my cartel coins, even though I get 500 a month. I just bought something recently. I think it was it's how I got the destable lightsaber was part of a gift pack, and it was a limited time, so I had like way more cartel coins than I needed, and I just went ahead and bought it. Because I had been collecting those cartel coins since I first got a subscription in this game, but I had never really spent the cartel coins. So I had like 5 years worth of cartel coins. 6 years of cartel coins just sitting there. So I figured I'd use it to buy something. It's good maybe not to spend your cartel coins and let them build up for the entire year. And then around Christmas time, go ahead and buy you something nice. Compliments of BioWare. Although you're actually just recuperating the money you're handing them every month. I'm showing my ship. These are my compartments. This is Imperial Fury. The Imperial ships are always nice compared to the Republic. Republic ships all look run down. Look like they barely put the thing together, whereas the Imperial ships all are they're like someone sat down and designed everything. Took the time. According to this, we're already at the Imperial fleet, so I don't need a hyperspace anymore. First thing I like to do is go to the base there and get my PvP stuff out of the way for the Galactic Starfighter. This is a pretty scene when you fly up to the space station here. Imperial Fleet Command. There's Lana.
As you wish.
I always like to make my announcement when I walk into a game first time. Greatness has arrived. Something I always do. chat in the station is always kind of cool. One thing I like about Star Wars is the fleet base is kind of like a central hub for the game. And there are a couple hubs, but it's sort of the main one where everybody's hanging out. People who do like PvP or stuff, they hang out at the base. So I like getting it over with first thing, and I'm going to say morning, but first when I log in, I get that out of the way. That way I can get off to go doing better things in the day. Continuing on. We're moving over to the combat wing of the fleet. Imperial Fleet Command. Now if you pull up the map and see all those Star Destroyers outside the base here, they're not static displays. You can actually take a shuttle from the station and go to any one of those Star Destroyers, and there are different things on those ships. Access ports, amenities, and all kinds of different things out there. Actual functional assets in the game, which is, I think, from an immersive sort of point of view, it's really nice that they went to that level of detail. Some games they would have just stuck a prop out there or a picture out there and say, yeah, there's their ships out there. One of the cool things about this game is everything in the game works or has some function or purpose. Oh, I was asking about tuning. Assets. That's why I was looking for the dark versus light crates, because you get the tuning feature for your equipment. The last couple videos where we've been into the Imperial Fleet here, the conversation has been pretty mild and relaxed. I have my profanity filter on, so I personally don't like profanity. I don't like that people use it. I'm not against profanity. I'm not like out to stop people from using profanity, or I just don't like to use profanity. Personally, I don't think it improves a conversation when people use profanity. one day soon, once I get enough memory in the computer here, I'll be able to walk through a fleet in its full graphic state. At this point in time, I can't do that. There's the PvP terminal. On the Republic base, the terminals, the way their base is structured, it's almost opposite of the way the Imperial base is laid out. And so when you go over their wing, their actual terminal is up along the rail there. One thing when you start making these videos is they take a long time, but sometimes when you're in between takes, you tend to get tired. And so what I do, that way I don't end up yawning on the microphone, I just stop the recording, then go get it all out of my system, then come back. That way I always have fresh energy. Although, because I have ADHD and OCD, I try to purposely slow my cadence down and tempo down so that I'm not shouting on the microphone or slurring my speech. Sometimes when I'm going really fast or I'm really hyper, I start spacing out. And I'll lose my train of thought really quickly, and I'll go from one sort of topic to the other. Incoherent conversation of different topic points. When I start rushing through things, I get all hyper. And then with my ADHD, it's the inattentive type. And what happens is I'm naturally hyperactive. So in psychology, you have what are called 3 states for your mood, which are called, they call homeostasis, which is normal. Then you have hyper, which is the high state, and hypo, which is the low state. Or in moods, they define that as homeostasis, manic is the hyper state, and then depression is the lower state. And where a lot of people get confused don't study psychology, they assume depression means that you're sad. It can be, but what depression is your body's in a low state. And you're not really like enthusiastic to do things, and that's what makes you tired. And then a hyper state, you're eager, like, ooh, I'm ready to do it, you're stimulated. And the way medication works is if you're normally in a high state, if you take a stimulant, the body has what's called a trip over point, and your body can only be high so long, and if it reaches a point beyond that, it trips it back to the next lower state, which would be homeostasis. And that's why people with ADHD have to take Adderall, because what it does is for a person who's naturally high, their natural normal state is high. When they take a stimulant, it brings them back down to normal. likewise, when a normal person takes a stimulant, they're normally at homeostasis. And so they go from homeostasis to a manic state. A person who's bipolar, what happens is they seesaw from all three states. So and depending on what type they are, bipolar 1 or bipolar 2, um, the length of time determines the type. So I believe type 1 is the longer, which is like a 3-year period of time between states. And then I believe the type 2 is the shorter period of time between states. And so you'll go through you'll see people for a year or two, they'll be perfectly okay. Then they go into a manic state, and then they have to travel, go somewhere, go do something different. Or they get into something new because they're all like, I can do it. And then they go back to normal, and then they fall back to a depressive state for another 2-3 years. And then they just cycle through all three states. And that's how people with bipolar are. So they fluctuate. And ADHD is similar to that in that there's 3 types. You have the inattentive, attentive, and a combination of the two. The inattentive is basically the higher your energy goes, the more depressive you get. Or your ability to retain things or learn new things is difficult. Or you just become really unenthused to do things. Likewise, when your energy level is low, you become excited to do things. Which for me, when I'm always when I used to go to my college classes, I used to like to shut my eyes in class, not because I was tired or sleepy. It's because it would put me in a nice relaxed state to where I could just absorb the information. Because the guy's speaking, so I don't need to see him. But then as a backup with ADHD, you always have to have when I started college, I was still using a tape recorder. And then as I got into the university, I switched to digital. And then eventually when I got my iPad, it was able to do both. Function as the tape recorder, and I could write my notes in the class. But a person who has the attentive type state, they're the ones that are when they go hyper, they're hyper. And when they go depressed, they get depressed. There's no gray area. They're what they are. Whereas the inattentive type, they're called the passive type. They're the hard ones to figure out. Or they're ones that take the longest to diagnose. Because when you're young, it's hard to diagnose people because they might just simply be bored. And so, my ADHD wasn't really diagnosed till my late to mid 30s. So here we go. We're off to. Looks like we're going to the Alliance Command on. It's not Odessa, but I'd have to see once the thing loads. It's loading on. I'll finish my point. So when I'm walking around slower, I like to do that on purpose because my enthusiasm improves. And when I get in groups where people start running around, with my ADHD, it starts really having a negative effect on me. And with my OCD, I
Be well.
like things to be orderly, or I don't like to miss things. And I don't like shortcuts or rushing through things. And that's sort of where it kind of upsets me sometimes when I'm in groups. Although, after a lot of therapy, I've gotten better at dealing with that. Learn to relax in games. Part of making these videos is the OCD part of me likes being fixated on projects, whereas the ADHD side of me likes to like jump to different things. So like every day I'm making videos, but there's all different aspects of it. So I get to like do different things, and for me it's kind of therapeutic. All the logistics that go into making a video. And I get to work on my Adobe Premiere skills. Their Creative Cloud. I got the professional Creative Cloud workbench, which has been a lot of fun. Iota. So we're gonna stand over here and do our galactic starfighter stuff. I wanted to show here, since the last video, I want to go a little more detail. So you see, those are all the actual planes I have, but you can only load 5 at a time. But every time you complete a mission, you get those tokens, and it buffs. See up there at the top where it ships requisition and fleet requisition. That gives you a bonus for both those for each individual ship. So when you click on a different ship, you'll see different numbers up at the top. So it's always good to do the daily bonus at least once a day. So if you get a victory, it counts as 2. But if you lose, you only have to do 2 matches to get the bonus. And then if you do that 14 times a week, you get not only the daily for each day, but you get the bonus for the week. And that's what you need to do to build your ships here. Find one plane that you like, stick with it, grind that up slowly while you build all the other ones up, and then over in a relatively short period of time, you can have a pretty good hangar of planes. Really cool. When I know World of Warplanes was just revamped to 2.0, and that's when I started playing World of War. Because when I first wanted to play World of Warplanes, everyone suggested that I wait. But in the new version of World of Warplanes, it's very similar to the Galactic Starfighter system. The way you set up the hangars, the way you fly the planes, and then go off and do the missions. Although I think the maps in Star Wars are a little larger than the World of Warplane maps. They seem larger. So here we go, we're waiting on the thing to pop, so we're gonna go off and do some of these missions. Waiting for the GSF to pop. We're in the afternoon. This was recorded around 4:30 in the afternoon, so on a Sunday it could be a hit or miss because a lot of people watch football. And this was right after Thanksgiving, so there are a lot of championship games being played. Or for college football, there are a lot of, but college doesn't play on Sundays. But professional football, there are a lot of games that were played this weekend. Professional football and I have had a divorce. I used to love football back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, mostly through the early 90s. And then in the last 10 years, I've kind of had a divorce from football. Basketball, too. Major League Baseball. Basketball, I used to be really into basketball until like somewhere in the early 2000s. Then we kind of parted ways. It's time to get this mission out of the way. Now, these missions are layered on, like if you ever played the old game, Knights of the Old Republic, which I'm planning to feature on this site. But, so people that hadn't seen it, they can get an understanding of it. But,
be well.
Supplemental to the story level in here, they added a layer on that was like Knights of the Old Republic, which allows you to go do these quests and stuff specific to your storyline, which allows you to build up your companions and have you build up your influence with them and build up your fleet. So it sort of adds to your story experience on top of all the other things. One of the great things about Star Wars in that they sort of follow the World of Warcraft, and for those of you that seen some of my World of Warcraft videos and familiar with them, I like that they stayed with that format. But I think where BioWare was superior to Blizzard is that they, when they created the story mode, they didn't erase the original starting areas. They figured out a way to update the story of the game without wrecking the original part of the game, which I like that part. So you reach a certain point, which is around when you do Knights of the GSF popped. You get to a certain point, which is where Knights of the Fallen Empire starts, and you do the prelude mission and you hit that button and that changes the map in the game forever for that character, which is kind of cool. And it begins by a whole planet being destroyed. We'll get into that later. Here we go, our first combat sword the other day. This is a straight up combat, so we'll be using our interceptor. The role of the interceptor is to go out, engage the enemy, and hit heavy ships like bombers and gunships.
The enemy has come. Prepare to engage in a full-on assault.
A fighter or air superiority fighter main job is to engage enemy fighters. While an interceptor's primary mission is to hit heavy targets. That's why they have big guns and big missiles. And they're a little bit heavier armored. They're essentially attack aircraft. I like this fighter because it's kind of small and it's cool. It's a prelude to the modern TIE fighter. Again, for those of you that don't know, Knights of the Old Republic is 3,000 years before Episode 4, The New Hope. Or actually, 3,000 years before the Phantom Menace timeline. And 300 years after Knights of the Old Republic. see I have my long-range cannon armed there. And then when people get within a certain range, I'll switch back to my short-range cannons, which you'll see my view scope there, that circle there. It has a narrow field of vision. When I switch to my closing guns, it switches to a wider field of vision, wider firing arc, and the guns are faster. I gotta be within 8,000 yards of the enemy to hit them with my main long-range cannon. And inside 8,000 meters, I can supplement the attack with my missile. With my interceptor, I use fast targeting missile clusters. Now, one thing that I like with PvP is if you die, you can't be a jerk about it. Just go respawn and come back. Some people get really nasty about it. See how the circle there is wide? I switched from my short range to long range cannons. Again, I hadn't been in the cockpit in a while, so I just wanted to get out and just mix and mingle just to get back into it. The last couple missions we were on bomber duty, so we didn't really get to engage people.
Losing paint.
Now those aren't those are real people out there playing. It's one of the coolest things I like about this game. It was playing Galactic Starfighter here that why I got into doing the actual ground combat in Star Wars. I wish I had a better computer to do it, because then I would do it all the time. But once I get enough memory in this computer, I'm going to do it. Something I plan to remedy by springtime of 2018. Gonna put about 64 gigs of memory in this computer and be done with it. Then that computer's gonna come alive. But one of the reasons we can't do any fancy flying is the computer just doesn't have the processing power, or at least the memory to do it. To draw that many pictures in a short amount of time requires a lot of memory. I believe the processor has enough processing power. It's just not a, we're kind of. What I want to do is I'm trying to target these gunships, even if I get killed. If I can keep him busy, because those gunships have a 15-kilometer range. So I had to get within 8,000 or 8 kilometers to hit him.
Together.
But so what you have to do with gunships is, especially if you're in an interceptor like mine, is you have to use your speed. You have to jump up on top of them, force them to move. And what that does is while he's engaged in you, he can't be knocking out your other people. And what you need to do is, from a strategy point of view, is don't allow their gunships to set up and start picking off your people left and right. So as an interceptor, you need to go out and find the gunships. And a lot of these guys like to sit at these asteroids and just sit out comfortable, but our job as an interceptor is to make sure they're not going to get comfortable. The only danger to that is they can pick you off. If you sit there and let them, they can pick you off from 15,000 kilometers. Now, for the purposes of today's video, I just trying to give you a basic idea of how this is with the. I think I jumped in the gunship for a little bit, but not very long. That's a gunship right there. Actually, a bomber. No, it's gunships. It's on my scope. you can see I put my display back to the way it normally is. For some reason, when the update came out, it reset it back to the default. And so I had to go back and set the panels up to how I like it. With my map right there up close, my long-range camera on the left, my engine power in the middle, my shield off to the side, guns in my toolbar. I like everything right there so I can keep my eyes centered in front of me. What I love with this is the terrain works. And so like on some of these maps you can actually fly through things, fly around things, and it could save you, or you could... A lot of times when people are trying to over pursue you, you can get them to crash into stuff. And that's a lot of fun.
Together. Brace yourself.
I was using my armor there to absorb those missiles. Now your ship isn't invincible, but by creating that static layer or electrifying your armor like that, what it does is it allows you to absorb big hits. And so it's going to force them to spend more time on you. And a lot of people, they want to get in and get that quick hit and leave, and if they have to stay on you for too long, that works against that strategy. Good. Now I switch back to my guns here. Long-range guns.
Pull together.
Booster. I don't like to overuse my afterburners. Boosters.
Won't fall apart.
I like to just tap them, that way I always have energy. Not doing so well, our side. Switching to long-range guns. He's trying to fly through here, but I'm a better pilot than he is. Even with people shooting at me, I can still maneuver through that. You gotta work as a pack here. You gotta get with your people, just lay out a wall of fire. See that? Use my sensor. The dude ran into a... See, he ran into the metal thing there trying to fly through there. He had bad piloting skills. He was not Han Solo. And the guy that shot me there, he has excellent gunnery skills. Excellent gunnery skills. Need to try to slow my speech down. Coming up on the 55-minute mark.
It's nearly over. You have to turn the tide.
I thought starting today's video off with a nice combat sortie. I think we did 2 to 3 of them today, because we ended up losing this. But had a lot of fun doing it.
Major hull damage.
Basically, if this was a movie, we're like the stand-in actors who are making the star of the show look good. That's why I introduced myself as Cannon Fodder 5. My job is to go out there and absorb enemy fire so that the better people stay alive.
Been routed. Get out of there, now!
I think we got a couple assists there. Got a kill and a couple assists there. It's hard to read the number on the Adobe Premiere. And that ended our first sortie for the day. Coming up at the end of part 1, we'll be picking it up again at the end of, or picking up on part 2. The new way that I'm formatting these videos is working out pretty nicely. On the production, time is shorter, and we're standardizing all our videos at about an hour. That way our upload times are pretty consistent. Here we go. Planets by Ioka. I can't read the name of the planet. It's Ioka. Yeah, we're engaged in another sortie. At least log in for one. The coolest thing about it is you don't have to win, you don't have to lose in PvP. You want to win, of course, but at least in this version of PvP, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. You still get something out of it, and you still can progress. You're not going to progress as someone who wins, but you know, each day is different. It's about having fun. Ooh, it popped again. Here we go. Only got about a minute left for this part. Gonna hold you in suspense for part 2. Another one of those missions. Even the music is exciting. Alright, we're gonna win. Let's get those rebel scums. For the Empire. Or the Alliance. I'm the Outlander.
Admiral Rankin here. Your mission in this war game is to wipe out the opposing squadron.
Wipe them
Safety
out.
protocols are not in effect. Take advantage of area objectives for leverage against your opponent, but do not lose sight of your ultimate goal. The results of this war game will provide crucial data to Imperial strategists.
Looks like I'm starting out in my bomber. Yay. Cannon Fodder 5 standing by. Oop, they made me the leader. That's a mistake. Ooh. We're dead. We're dead. We're gonna die. One thing I like about Bomber on this mission is you don't have to worry. You can shoot at people because I have pretty good guns. But you just throw the stuff out the back and let people run into your stuff. Now, the way bombers are supposed to work is you're supposed to fly at a heavy target and just surround them with bombs. Or mines, basically. Seeker mines. Ion mines. See you in part 2.